I am ready whenever you want to start, Aditya.
Right. We'll just wait for 2 minutes and then we'll begin.
Yeah.
Prof is crazy, bro.
Why? What is the
I mean,
problem?
I feel that mostly everybody would have had COVID, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that a person becomes 100% after a week or so. It's any
Yeah.
like,
As per reports, you
even
can
after
catch
a
it
month or
second
so, it's
time.
like some impact is there.
Yeah. I think basically you can catch it again, even if you got it earlier. Doesn't mean that you are completely safe.
That and the when you can be said to have been cured is very complicated.
Yeah. Long-term effects, no one knows.
Yeah.
Short term is still understandable that you may not have fever, you may not have cough.
And I know so many people who have, I mean, who still have cough, etc., months after having COVID.
Yeah, correct.
All right, so we will begin the session. Good evening, everyone. It's a great day to start yet another session of Ignite. So we are joined by two eminent lawyers, I must say, of the Supreme Court of India. Both of them have done their law from National University, Jodhpur, and then they went on to do their LLMs from Harvard University and Oxford University. Right now, they are practicing in the Supreme Court of India, and along with the Supreme Court, they also go to various other tribunals, forums, and the various other high courts. So, welcome to the show, Avi sir and Anish sir. Hope you're doing well.
Thank you, Aditya. Great to see you.
Thank you, Aditya.
Right. So, my first question will be to Avi sir. I want to understand why did you choose law in the first place? So, was it because of family pressure? Was it something which you were pretty sorted when you were in perhaps your 11th or 12th?
Yeah.
But what exactly was the impetus for you to choose law?
Well, I have to be honest with you. I come from a family of lawyers. My grandfather was a judge in Allahabad High Court. Then my father was also a judge. So our regular dining table conferences were mostly about cases, what was happening. So that was something which I was always intrigued about, because I would see my grandfather and my father just discussing something off the hand which was not even relevant to their case, but it was linked to law. So when I grew up, I thought that is what the normal life is, frankly. And when I started developing my own mind, I realized that law is a field that interested me more than many other fields. One, because law has a lot of correlation with many other fields. Law can be used in companies, law can be used in social welfare schemes, law can be used anywhere. In fact, many people in our country don't even know their basic rights. So law is something which is integral to everyone. And also it came sort of, I'm probably wrong, but I thought it came slightly easier to me than maybe some other fields like engineering or maybe medical. So that was one of the reasons why I chose law. And now in the hindsight, I realized that I liked it more than any other thing, and I still love it more than any other thing. So I personally feel that I took the right step.
Right. Right. My next question is to Anish, sir. So, of course, you have taken a transition from the corporate world to litigation. But before I try and understand why you did that, I would want to understand how did you end up in NLU Jodhpur, and why this college? Why not colleges abroad, or why not any other college in your vicinity?
So, to be very frank, why NLU Jodhpur is the kind of question which would be posed to somebody who would have a lot of options. As in, at the time when we started getting to know about various law colleges in India itself was a much more complicated process. And at the time, CLAT did not exist. So you had to fill separate forms for each of these colleges, and every college had a specific examination which it conducted itself. So things were a little more complex than it is now, and information flow of information was also not that seamless at the time. Uh, Having said that, Jodhpur, after we went through the admission process, I mean, Jodhpur was perhaps one of the best options available in the country, and when we got it, we took it. Uh, so not to, no, I mean, I don't think there's much to say about that. There can be a question about why not any other field, but on that, my answer would be that what I realized in 11th and 12th was that the entrance process and everything with respect to how you get into a college was way more aligned for lawyers than engineers. So, say, I'm just as an example, so for software developers, if one chooses the path of engineering and computer science, so to say, still it is not aligned, and one has to study various other fields. Maybe I may be wrong, but organic chemistry has nothing to do with the software development. But one has to, in that entrance exam, give specific answers, and there's a full section which has a specific weight for that. So my understanding is that it's not completely aligned with the objective of the student. So I thought that that field doesn't really work for me.
Right, right. The next question is back to Avi sir. You were the topper of your batch back at NLU Jodhpur. Now, you have been through, you were there, you were involved in the moot court committee, you were involved in the other committees as well. How important do you think is the academic life of a student in the college? And if I were to ask you how much practical impact it gives when you are currently working as a Supreme Court lawyer, so that knowledge vis-a-vis the practical representation of the client in a court of law right now, how impactful and how important was that?
So, see, there are two aspects to your question. One is the academic aspect, and one is the aspect with respect to various committees, etc. So, I'll first address the academic aspect. If you think that what the question that came in your exam in your college will actually help you in a courtroom, that may not always be true. It can be true at a time, maybe once or twice, but more than that, I don't think that will happen. So the idea is to learn the process. The idea is not to learn the answer, but to learn the process. You have to understand how to find an answer. That's a very basic thing for a lawyer or for any student, actually. Whichever field a student is, you should know how to find an answer. And to find an answer, you need to put in hard labor. You can't just simply think that the answer will come by divine grace or something to you. It never happens. You have to put in effort. You have to look and research. You have to read books about it. That's how the process is oriented, and that's how a law school will teach you anywhere. If it's a law school where you're putting in hard work, it will teach you how to go about in your future endeavors. Whether you're a lawyer, you're a corporate lawyer, you're a litigant, or XYZ, you may be working in house in a company, or you may have chosen a different field. But at least you know the way how to find things, how to structure things, how to reach about a conclusion, and how to frame your analysis, how to frame your answers to XYZ, maybe to a judge, maybe to your boss, maybe to anyone. So that's one aspect, the educational aspect or the academic aspect. The second aspect is the committees, the moot court committee or the CAT committee, whatever. My understanding is that as a lawyer, you need to be a holistic person. You need to understand how an organization runs, because tomorrow, when you are a lawyer, you'll also run an organization. You need to have administrative experience. And if you want to do an administrative experience, you also first need to learn what is the basic. You have to do the donkey work at times. And that is what we were supposed to do when we were in our first years, when we were in the committees. We were supposed to do some donkey work also, but that's fine because everyone has to do it, and till the time you've done it, you don't learn it. So to be a good organization, be a good boss, you ultimately need to understand the basics of any organization on how to go about it. So even as a lawyer, we have to worry about our office, we have to worry about our administration, etc. So that is helpful. And those committees and the experience that we got from those committees, that helped us to basically get an overview of how to manage things, because law is just not about studying or just about appearing in court. Law is many other things than just your appearance in court.
Right. Next question is to Anish sir. So, of course, after finishing your law education from NLU Jodhpur, you went on to work for a corporate firm. Now, I want to ask you, how important do you think are internships? The first question. And at times it's really difficult for a person to get internships. So apart from the placement committee, of course they can apply on a personal basis. But how do you tell the company that you are a prospective candidate that they should consider for giving a job opportunity in their company? So how do you basically establish yourself in a corporate while interning so that you can bag a job just like you did?
So I think your question mainly has actually has several aspects to it. One is about internships and how important internships are, and the second aspect is about how to land a job. These are two completely, I mean, although they have some overlapping aspects, but they are not really the same thing. Law is a flavor of so many different things. It's not possible to really understand everything in one's life, to be very frank. There are just too many aspects available. So as a student, it is always very important to have a brief sense of various flavors, because without that you will not know where to go. That is extremely important for an internship. So in an internship, the idea first primarily is for a student to understand what it entails, what it means to be a litigator, what it means to be an in-house counsel, what it means to be a corporate lawyer. Just a brief flavor, although to be very frank, an internship may not give full sense of what it entails, but still it gives some idea, and that is how a student will choose where to go. Now the second question will be about how to land a job. So fortunately or unfortunately, having good academics is a very major part of the entire process, because at the end of the day, we look at it from the perspective of anyone who's trying to come and hire people, and that is one metric that that person has, other than whatever question and answer session happens or whatever interviews happens. So I think academics is extremely important, at least from top tier law schools perspective, and if a student wants to go for a top tier law firm, because they generally have some criteria. They will not take people without that academic qualifier. Having said that, the connect which internships have with a job is that a pre-placement offer, so to say, can be provided through an internship also, where if a person has done a very good job, then the employer may consider taking that person. For that person, it is important to be in a place where you want to eventually work. Now, all the big tier law firms, they would not normally take people on the basis of recommendations, unless it's a very weighty recommendation, which, I mean, if the recommendation is that weighty, then you probably don't even need that internship. So in case you want that internship, just to get that internship, you will need good academics, because the college normally, invariably, the college would choose on the basis of academics whose CV to send and who's not to send, because the college has got the responsibility of not sending 100 CVs. Otherwise, how will the law firm select? So the problem is not about how good or bad the metric is, unfortunately. The problem is that there are very few metrics which are available.
Right.
From that perspective, I think if one wants to land a job, I think academics is extremely important from a corporate law firm perspective.
Right. Next question is to Abhi sir. After finishing your education, you went on to do your BCS from Oxford. Now, again, there are layers to my question. One, how important do you think is LLM, so to speak, for your career in litigation? One. Second, you did your LLM from one of the most popular universities in the world, which is the Oxford University. So I would want you to go ahead and talk about how difficult is it really to get in that college. And third, how is your life in Oxford? So I'm pretty sure you must have had your fair share of fun there. So go ahead and explain it.
So first question is LLM and why LLM? That's what I think your question is.
Right.
That why should one do an LLM?
Right.
I think when I was in my 5th year of law college in NLU Jodhpur, I was slightly sure that my development of law is not complete. This is what I felt when I was in my last year of law school. So once I was sure that I wanted to study more, because I realized that I don't think I'm a complete lawyer now and I can't really start working. Then I had an option to either take an LLM in India or take an LLM abroad. At that time, an LLM in India meant 2 years and an LLM abroad meant 1 year. At that relevant time when I was going to graduate out from NLU. So 1 year seemed to me a lot of made more sense basically, and saved a lot of time than 2-year LLM. Second, so I really wanted to do an LLM from a prestigious institution because one, it gives you a brand tag. Two, it gives you a very good connect to the world as such. Your alumni from bigger institutions like Oxford, Harvard, etc., are way more connected than any other college in the world. And third factor being that why I thought Oxford made more sense to me was because common law being a common law system and Oxford being one of the oldest institutions in the world. One, it was very popular. So anyone who gets to know that you're from an Oxford has a sense of respect for you. One. Two, that it sort of aligned more with the subjects that I was interested in, because I was more interested in litigation as such. So the subjects there like constitutional theory and institution of unjust enrichment, etc., which I took up there, it seemed more aligned to my interest than some other subjects at other institutions. Though, very frankly, I applied to all many other institutions, including in US and Singapore, etc. But ultimately, it boiled down to the fact that there were 2-3 options available with me, and the subjects taught in Oxford seemed to be a better mix for me, including the teachers there. Because of, your LLM has to do a lot of work with your teacher. As in a law school, you can still get around by studying more with your peers and learning more from your peers. In a LLM, you need more support from your teachers, and the better teacher you have, the better your LLM will go. Now, so what was your second question? If I missed that.
My second question was how difficult is it to get in Oxford?
Right. So it's not easy. Let's be frank. It's not easy. When I had gone there, it was supposed to be one of the easier years to get into Oxford because there were about 15 Indians out of 150 students. So that was one of the bigger batches of Oxford, and getting into that 15 also seemed like a big achievement at that time. And so it is not easy because you're competing with the best in your country, and then you're competing with the best in your best in the world. So 15 out of the entire students applying in India seemed to be very difficult, and I think is still very difficult. So for that, I think according to me, for Oxford, the academics played a lot of importance because they seemed to be stressing more on your undergrad marks. That is what it generally seemed like when I interacted with my peers there. They all were one of the highest ranked people in their batches who had applied. Otherwise, that like the toppers may not have applied, and those who applied were amongst the top 2, top 3. So I thought that probably academics for them mattered more. Though there are different colleges which seem to have stressed on different aspects, like I was uh, quite intrigued to know from people that NYU stressed more on your work, ex work environment, and how much you've worked earlier, because not everyone applies directly after undergrad. A lot of people apply after working for a few years, so your work experience counts there.
Right.
And what was your third question, if I can ask?
My third question was, of course, how were these wonderful years?
Yeah, right. So it was a lovely time there. It was a lovely time there. Oxford is a great city and a great institution also. And to be very frank, I'll start with academics first. Academics wise, it's completely different from our country, because there the stress is not on just learning things and just remembering things. It's not on remembering. It's not on the knowledge is not based on how much you remember of what you were taught. The idea is how can you analyze things. There were people who would look at civil procedure rules and analyze them from a philosophical basis, which I've never heard it, at least in India, anyone doing that. So the idea was how much can you use your mental power to analyze things, how to rationalize things. And very frankly, after doing an LM there, I realized that the whole perspective of a law student changes once he does an LLM from abroad, because you look at the bigger picture. And ultimately, it's the bigger picture that matters in the world. The smaller picture gets lost, because the smaller picture is only a temporary picture that you will see. The idea is to how can you present a viable solution for any problem that you face? How can you present a viable solution which is acceptable even to a judge? So that is, and coming to something which is non-academic, see your interaction there with the best in the world and the most fun-loving people also. There you realize that studying is not just reading and writing. Studying is also learning from your peers, seeing how people enjoy themselves. That's a very important. In India, we focus a lot on just studying. That's not it. You have a life beyond studies, you have a life beyond work, and you should understand the importance of that. How do you maintain that work-life balance? And there are a lot of people which you can learn from abroad, which we don't see in India, because we have become used to working whole day and night, 24/7. That's not the way to go about it. There has to be a work-life balance. Otherwise, you'll burn out very soon. So that is what I saw with a lot of people there, that they were the best in their field, yet they had the best time when it came to parties. And trust me, the parties there can never be matched by anything in India.
And that you are saying with due regard to the NLU Jodhpur parties.
Yeah. NLU Jodhpur parties were were a thing in themselves. They were much better probably from many other institutions in India, but I still think that people know how to party abroad than
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So an eclectic mix of academics, sports, learning literature, learning culture, and socializing is what Avi sir learned from Oxford University. My next question, of course, is to Anish sir. So you have had a very interesting career. You chose one of the best corporate firms in the entire country. Then you went to Harvard, that is considered to be one of the, this is the Harvard and Oxford's which we are talking. So this is one of the best universities in the entire world. And then you came back and started litigating. So the trajectory has been amazing. I want to understand when it comes to Harvard. Of course, everybody, say that the tag, the brand, it really matters. And overall, you are more established and more complete after studying from an institute like that. So my question to you is, how exactly Harvard was like, and how do you think it was different from an elite university like NLU Jodhpur in India? So if you were to compare the US education system and Indian education system, how are they different or same if they are?
Uh, So on that note, as to how the systems are different, it will be extremely difficult to really judge on that, because there is no other system, to be very frank, like Harvard's. And to say that the system is there in all the universities, even in the US, is not correct.
Right.
So to my understanding, that is an extremely unique system which is available only at Harvard and nowhere else. When a person applies to Harvard, it is not just for the purpose of any academics or networking, etc. When a person applies to Harvard, the application process itself is such that it is judged, so to say, that you have done well, very reasonably, very extremely well in your career. And in most cases, very few students are there who have not had some experience of some profession or something like that before coming to the college. So they kind of have already judged that you are doing very well. At that point of time, you are master of your own fate. So the subjects, etc. So just to have a very brief glimpse, there are about 400 or more subjects, and you can simply choose which ones you want, and then there is a priority system, there's a bidding system on how you get those subjects. So and there's nothing like one has to as in study all English subjects, or one has to study a particular type of subjects, or has to design his course in a particular way. One needs to see what one is wanting to do in life and then design the course in that manner. So every Harvard student's course will be extremely unique in its own way, and it will not be comparable to anything else, because all the subjects and how you've designed it for yourself will be extremely different.
Right.
I'm sorry, I've forgotten the next question that you had.
No. So it was just about how it is different and how unique it is, the education system.
Yes. So on that, because of the uniqueness and because of the way it is designed, it is extremely good for networking. It is extremely good for academics. It is extremely good for people who are looking for skill enhancement, or also for people who are looking to gain knowledge of law. And of course, partying, etc. Is of a different level altogether. However, I will not undermine the NLU parties. With due respect, they had their own credit. So now, how it is unique is that if, say, for example, a person will have different objectives in mind when going to any institute. So I could have an objective of, say, for example, getting a job in the US, or say, for example, UK or Europe or anywhere. So as a Harvard student, you can want to be a lawyer established in Europe as well.
Right.
So you will choose your subjects accordingly, so that you can choose what type of bar exam you want to qualify. A lot of people eventually choose to have certain subjects which make them eligible for the New York bar.
Yeah.
And then accordingly you can give the bar exam and practice abroad. If you want to come back, I as an Indian advocate, an Indian qualified advocate, I know that when it comes to Indian laws, I'm a better authority than them. There's no doubt about it. So that's not what you want to learn over there. You want to learn skill-based courses. So something like a negotiation, art of negotiation, or a mediation, something like that, which is completely different. And the names of subjects themselves are so unique. It is the pattern of the course is extremely difficult to put in words. So just to explain, name of one course was Innovation in Legal Education and Practice. And I mean, innovation, how can innovation be a subject? So
entrepreneurship in legal practices.
Innovation in legal education and practice. So I'm just this is just an example, but the experience of going there is just the fact that you know that you are the best, and then you have designed your career and you want to see how you want to take it forward, where you want to take it forward, and accordingly you take it forward.
Right.
Obviously, what we said about the brand name and getting an audience wherever you stand, all that is obviously applicable for the best of the institutes.
Right. So my next question is to Avi sir. So
Aditya, I think, is Aditya disconnected?
I think he just got disconnected. Avi, just see if you are the host.
Yeah, I'm the host, but Aditya is not there. Maybe there was some Zoom app crash or something. I think he might be trying to connect again, probably.
Yes.
This Zoom app crash is happening quite often these days.
He just messaged. He's joining back.
Yeah. Even in the morning today, some Zoom app crashed, and then everything got delayed by an hour because of that. During the judging of that WIS pre-moot.
All right.
So, yeah, 1 hour it took for Zoom things to get sorted again.
Just see if you're getting some pop-up.
No,
because
I think he was a co-host. Yeah, he's joined back.
Right. I'm so sorry I got disconnected. Right. I hope I'm visible on YouTube as well.
Yeah, you're visible to us.
Yes, you're visible to us. We're not sure about the YouTube.
Right. So, of course, my next question is to Avi sir. I want you to go ahead and explain to us how your peculiar day as a lawyer is, and I'm not talking about the current COVID
Yeah.
because that's an absolutely
Yeah.
different of all the legal processes. But I just want you to I just want to understand, and for me and for all my viewers, how your peculiar as a Supreme Court lawyer is. So from Supreme Courts to various tribunals, how does it pan out?
Yeah. So let's talk about the pre-COVID era, because I don't think post-COVID era is very same, or it's not similar at all. So pre-COVID era, our day would normally start with early morning, or maybe not that early morning, also maybe 7 o'clock, where you get up and read your matters or files which are listed for the day.
Right.
Because you want to remember the things at your fingertips when you're before a judge. So 7 o'clock you start reading your files, and then you get ready and you go to court. Now, one of the bigger agonies in our court life is that you have to wait a lot for your matter to come. There are times where you have to keep waiting and the matter would not reach. But there are also days where your matter is listed very high up, and you have to be quickly ready in the morning to reach the court on time.
Right.
So we would reach courts on time, and then either wait for our matters and chit chat with other colleagues, or straight away go ahead for our matter which is about to come. And sometimes there are senior advocates who you have to be briefed in the morning, so you have to reach early and then brief them, have a conference with them about the matter, where they are appearing as a senior and you are the junior counsel there. So normally, typically in a Supreme Court day, if it's a miscellaneous day, we would get free by say 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 o'clock or so, because miscellaneous days are the days where fresh matters are admitted.
Right.
So it doesn't take too much of a time, and mostly people get free by say 2 o'clock, 2:30.
Right.
You would come back, you have the option to go back home, rest, or you have the option to go to your office and finish your work.
Right.
See, the bad part about being in Delhi is that the distances are so much that you can't keep traveling whole day. So we as a lawyer prefer to go back to our offices and then prepare our matters for the next day.
Right.
So after lunch, we would go to our offices, start the preparation for the matter, which is the next day after. A lot of times there are client meetings lined up in the evening, where the client would either visit your office or you have to meet the client at his office. depending upon the client again. And you have to meet them, you have to discuss the matter with them. There are most of the times prospective matters where you have to guide them what is the future endeavors or how to go about these aspects in the future once they have decided to go ahead with litigation, the strategy, etc. This is one aspect where you meet the clients, which is a very big part and very important part of a lawyer, litigation lawyer, that you have to interact with clients on a daily basis. Then the next aspect is sometimes you have briefings or senior conferences or client conferences for a matter which is listed the next day. So our evenings would then be spent upon either those conferences or those briefings with the seniors. And then by that time you try and finish the drafting work, because drafting is the most important work. If your drafting is good, things fall in place, because your arguments also come into your draft, as well as whoever will read your draft, whether it is judge or the other side, they will understand what is the issue involved. So the drafting takes up some time of the day where you have to draft. And then there are days when there are urgent filing works, like there is some very urgent matter. So for example, a bank guarantee invocation matter where you can't waste time. So those days you have to be in office till very late. And you have to, unlike COVID times, earlier you had only physical filing, so you had to ensure that the file etc is ready before it is filed the next day, so that it is mentioned on time. Those kind of things, because urgent matters really take a lot of hard work. Otherwise, on a regular course of matter, you have your own time, you can frame your thoughts, you can pace your drafting also in a way. But urgent matters, you don't have that luxury, you have to prepare everything. And that's about it. You finish your work as soon as you can. At times it gets late, at times it gets beyond 11:30, 12 in the night. At times you're lucky and you get free by 7 o'clock. Maybe you don't have a hectic day next day, or maybe you don't have a matter listed next day. The good part about Supreme Court is the hectic days are mostly Mondays and Fridays, which are the miscellaneous days, where you may have more matters. On a regular hearing days, since regular hearings take more time, like on a Tuesday, Wednesday or Thursday, regular hearings take more time. So you are also in a comfortable position where you know sort of how much time will it take before your matter reaches in court. So you can pace yourself that very well. But on a Monday and a Friday, it's mostly you're jostling around. So it depends, but most of the times it is about these things which you have to do on a daily basis.
My next question is to
Yes.
My next question is to Anish sir. Now, of course, having talked about your career, this is a very peculiar career which we are talking about, and a very ambitious and a very good career, so to speak. You eventually formed your own firm as well with Havi sir. That's called E3T Legal. Now, I want to understand in India how important is it to work as a firm or with a partner to garner more clients. And the second part of the question is how difficult is it to form a firm in Delhi?
Yes. So I think this is an extremely important question, generally from a student point of view, just to understand what kind of trajectory a person is going to have. So just to explain one bit of information, what Avi has said is absolutely right, but that is how his day would start and end. A student at his initial formative stages needs to understand that this is maybe 10 years down the line that he has such a day. Normally, for a person who wants to start litigating, the way it would work is that he would join some senior advocate or some other person who's way senior to him. And then the advocate would work with that senior, gain experience, basically go in the office early morning, work on that matter, go for the court hearing, then come back and prepare, and just consider the senior as his client for very many years in the beginning, so that one can learn how the entire process works, how the filing works, what kind of argument is required, how the judges take your uh, issues, don't take your issues, what is being accepted, what is not being accepted. And I mean, it really depends from judge to judge as well as matter to matter and field to field, and there are n number of permutations and combinations on that. Once a person has some idea about how things are working, then it would make sense to reach out to people, your contacts, etc., and see how you can get clients, because that is how you will establish your own practice. Now, establishing one's own practice is an extremely difficult job, even if somebody is from the legal fraternity, if there is a parental backing, etc. If there is no parental backing, it becomes all the more challenging, because it's very difficult then to get the first few matters. One may have to go to various people and really request for work, which I have done. So going to various cities and then asking people as to how you can collaborate, and then how we can help them in various aspects, and doing all this while really not selling yourself out is an extremely difficult job. So so that is an extremely important part of even starting the practice. I have not come to the firm yet. Once your practice is at a sufficient level, then you will realize that you need collaboration so that you can get matters of a particular size, because it's a very weird thing, but a limited liability tag in India brings more confidence than an unlimited liability. So if a person is in his personal self giving unlimited attention, that is not sufficient. Right. Normally a brand tag where it shows that it's a conglomerate, it's a collaboration of n number of people, where there lots of lawyers are there, that brings a little more confidence in a lot of people. Right. So for that purpose, people either join firms as partners, existing firms as partners, or then you can set up your own firm. Right. If you want to set up your own firm, then you will need extremely good people. So Avi and I decided to come together and start the partnership. After that, once you have the partnership structure, then it's important to then it becomes really a juggling game between organizational skills on the one hand and lawyer skills on the other hand, because it's not, it just doesn't remain about the lawyer skills anymore. I mean, that's obviously, that is a very important aspect, but getting to know various administrative skills is also extremely important. So from the basic thing of setting up your domain name to a brand logo, brand image, and then having that entire paraphernalia and setup takes a lot of administrative effort, which is required. And very frankly, having multiple people to do that is extremely helpful, because for one person to do it would be all the more challenging. Right.
And it's more like a startup as well.
Yeah,
it's more like a startup.
It is like a startup. It is like a startup. One has to then take that brand value and nurture it over the years, which is what we are doing right now. Right. So the how difficult it is extremely difficult, because a lot of people who start from a junior stage don't really end up even practicing. So ending up in that firm structure is an even difficult job, more difficult after that. But to set up yourself in Delhi itself is an extremely difficult job, very frankly. And one needs to be able to either get some extremely good backing very soon, or one needs to get clients extremely fast, because otherwise the city itself will eat you up.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure you yourself are very well aware about all these dynamics.
Absolutely.
So I think from the student's perspective, it is important not to get lost, and just to give it a best shot and just see how they can do it, but not just try to go with the flow. Everything should be done with a particular planning as such, because otherwise you will not know where you will land.
My next question is to Abhi sir. So we are almost at the brink of the session, and it is a very crucial question. If I were to ask you about, the most important characteristic traits for a person to have to become a successful Supreme Court or a successful litigator, what will those traits be?
Right. So I can only tell you about what I see from the seniors that I've briefed and from who I've learned from. Because I can't call myself a successful lawyer at this stage because we are all still a student of law.
Right.
But what I see is one is hard work. There's no substitute for hard work. If the best of seniors in Supreme Court will still put in that much of hard labor and sometimes more hard labor than we as junior lawyers would put in.
Right.
So hard work has no substitute.
Right.
The other thing is your dedication and passion for law and your reasoning skills. Your reasoning skills, if they are up to the mark, it's law is very simply logic. And trust me, it's very difficult that to find people with logical answers. Even though logic is supposed to be the most common sense is not that very common. So logic, I think you have to be really strong on your logic and reasoning, because you can convince anyone with your strong logic and your strong reasoning. You don't really need to cite hundreds of cases in front of any judge or anyone. You just need to tell him what you're saying is sounding reasonable, and that is why you should get an order what you're asking for. So I that's what I see in most of these big shot lawyers who appear in courts regularly, is that they put the case so simply that it's very difficult for a judge to go the other way. And that's very difficult. To put your case in the most simple terms is very difficult, even though it may seem very easy.
Right. So before I ask Anish sir the next question, I want our audience to go ahead and ask as many questions as they feel like. So the stage is free now. You can go ahead and write down your questions on the chat window which you have. The next question to Anish sir is rather an informal question, I must say. So I have seen, and a lot of people have this apprehension that law and lawyers, they need to study a lot. Having said that, that's that is a truth which cannot be disputed at all. But how much studying do you do daily? And of course, I am not saying कि भाई 2 घंटा हर दिन पढ़ता हूँ. I'm not talking about that. But I'm talking about overall laws, regulation to keep yourself updated. What are the things which you do? And secondly, how do you wind up? Because I think it is also very important for a lawyer to have that fresh perspective, as Abhishek sir was mentioning, to put your case very simply and succinctly. You probably perhaps want to have that new perspective. So how do you wind up, and how do you go ahead and update yourself with the rules and laws and regulations every day?
So this is the general reading, having updates about current affairs, and now the information technology has reached such a level that as soon as a judgment is given by the Supreme Court, there are pop-ups or updates on live law, and there are so many other information mediums where you can just simply have a very good idea on what is happening. And I would say all these modes which are giving updates about what is current affairs about law that is being given by various courts, that itself is so substantial that one may not be able to do much more than that. It's really overwhelming at times. Apart from that, this is just a precursor, so to say. Before you can get any matter, you need to have an idea about every field of law and what's happening over there. Otherwise, the research process will become so lengthy that you will not do anything about the matter. So when a person gets a matter, then the research process really goes too much in detail. Before that, it's having general current affairs. And of course, when with the new government in hyperactive, not to say hyperactive in a bad way, it was essentially required in my view. There was a lack of a lot of policies. But when the government is so active, and when new laws and really path-breaking laws are coming day in and day out, with the insolvency code, with the GST, and I mean, these are really big ticket items that we're talking about, legislations which should be made once in 50 or 100 years, that have come up in a span of several of them have come up in the last 10 years. Then I think one really needs to be updated about at least the basic structure of each of those regulations, so that some sense of sanity can prevail in relation to how research has to be done, what kind of thought process a person has to have. So that is very important. So I would say once a person has reached a certain level, then obviously it is mainly about keeping yourself up to date with respect to whatever is happening. And without that, a lawyer's life will never be complete. And to say that this is true for just for lawyers is not correct. I mean, you name a field, working hard and being dedicated, there is no substitute irrespective of the field.
Absolutely.
So that's where we are.
Right. And the next question, of course, is how do you wind up? So, what kind of interesting, so I have heard a lot of lawyers go golfing, a lot of lawyers do a lot of interesting stuff. So, how do you freshen up to have that creative perspective?
So, I have been extremely fortunate on this count, is what I feel. Because, when I'm able to do something great for my client, when I am able to get a great judgment for my client, when I'm able to give some great opinion to my client, which makes my client happy, when I'm able to provide a solution on the transactional side to a client which the client was worried about, it really gives me a great kick. So that itself, to be very frank, I would compartmentalize my work itself in 2-3 domains, and some bit of it would be done mainly for monetary purposes, and some bit of it would be in itself be leisure, if I may put it that way. So that way I have been extremely blessed, so to say. But of course, family outings and holidays, and there are so many other avenues, and this is the best part of being a lawyer. So all throughout this interview, we have been saying how difficult it is, you may not succeed, all that. But Supreme Court, as per the Supreme Court rules, opens just for 180 days in 1 year. There is no other field, no other place where you can say that the office is going to be shut for half the year. That's not going to happen anywhere else. So there is, I think, plenty of opportunity where you can get a chance to wind up with summer vacation, winter vacation, Holi, Diwali, Dussehra, and you name it, and you'll get so many.
And then comes COVID. And then comes COVID.
And then there is COVID. Yeah. So winding up, I have personally not faced that as a challenge ever. There is too much vacationing, and then of course when you go back to work, you have to give it 100%. Of course, there's no denying that.
Right. So with this lovely note, we will go ahead and wind up the session. It was lovely interviewing both of you, and since you are my college seniors, it makes all the more sense for me to reconnect both of you. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart and from the bottom of the heart of every student who is watching. Thanks a lot for coming and joining and giving us this important bit of information about practicing law, about proving yourself as a litigator in the Supreme Court of India, which is the country's highest court. So thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, Aditya.
Yeah, it was a pleasure, Aditya. It was a really
your questions were quite intriguing for even us to answer. Yeah, without your questions, I don't think we would have been able to open up.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Aditya.
With this note, I thank everybody who has joined us. Thanks a lot. We will be coming up with more interesting sessions like these. Stay tuned.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.